Hello everyone, welcome to today's CS14 SI video. I'm Amanda and I will be your SI leader for this video. Today, we will go over one of the sorting algorithms you've learned in class, as well as how to use exceptions in your code. So I call these algorithms the beginner's trinity of sorting algorithms. Although out of these three, insertion sort is usually the one that gets sidelined by everyone, so that's going to be our focus for today's video. So how insertion sort works is that we essentially separate our array into two parts, the unsorted part and the sorted part. So for each value in our unsorted portion of the array, we take that value and we swap places with the values in the sorted portion of the array. And we keep on swapping until we find that our value is in its proper place. So here is our lovely code right here. And I'd like to run through this code with an example. So here's our code and our array. And if we look at this for loop, it goes from I equals 1 to n. And we set our key to our index at 1 and j to the item behind it. And so our j will kind of mark the beginning of our sorted portion of the array, while everything after that will be unsorted. So now we go to this while loop, and pretty much it checks whether we've either reached the end of our sorted portion or if the sorted value we're looking at is greater than our key. So right here we see that 12 is greater than 11, so then we swap it. And we see that our unsorted value is already at the end of our sorted portion, so we just add it to the sorted portion like so. And for 13, we see that it's already greater than the beginning of our sorted portion, so we just add it instantly as well. And for 5, we move it all the way down to the end of the sorted portion like so. For 6, we do the same thing, but we just stop here. And then we have our sorted array. So now let's talk about the runtime of insertion sort. Now, right now we have this for loop, and it goes from 1 to n. So we know that our runtime is going to be n times whatever the inside is. And we see inside here, we have some constant time operations, so that's going to be of 1. And here, we have another loop, and this time it's from j to 0, or whenever this condition is satisfied. And at most, j to 0 will be pretty much from one end of the array to another, so that's at most n times whatever is in this loop. And we see here that it's just more constant time operations, so it's just times 1. And here you also see that we have one little operation at the end, which is also constant time. So we get n times 1 plus n plus 1. And overall, that gives us a grand total of O of n squared. And that's pretty much how we'll break down most of our algorithms that we go over in this course. Now I want to talk about what could go wrong with our code. So since we're using arrays, that could leave us vulnerable to accessing memory we shouldn't. So take this for loop, for example. So we're going from 1 to n, and we're checking that we're in the bounds by checking if I is less than n, which is great. But what if we accidentally put I is less than or equal to n? Then we would end up having an iteration where we're accessing the array at n, which is a no-no. So in order to protect our code from silly mistakes, we can use exceptions. So here's our code, and this time we have this really bad I is less than or equal to n. but we also have this code right here. So right here, we're checking if I is ever greater than or equal to n, which is a situation we don't want to have. And if it does occur, we just simply throw an out of range error and we add a little error message to go along with it. Now, when you throw an exception, it'll essentially just kind of end the program and show you this error message. Sometimes that could be a good thing because you don't want the program to run after something bad has happened, but sometimes you want the code to keep running. And that's where try catch statements come into play. So we're going to go look at another example from the worksheet and look at how we use try catch statements. So before we even look at the code from the worksheet, I just want to quickly run the program and show you guys what it does. So we're asked to input a positive number, then a negative number, then 0. Then we get an out of range error, but for those who did the worksheet, you guys know why, and we have a cute little goodbye message at the end. So now let's go look at the code. We're going to be focusing on this part of the program right here when we're getting a positive number. So here we can see we have our try and catch statement. The try statement basically encapsulates all the code we're trying to make sure is okay. And then the catch statement pretty much tells us what we need to do if we do run into some trouble. Now, if you notice here, we're checking if the input is negative, which is the opposite of what we want from our input. So in the case that we do get a negative number, we throw a logic error and tell the user, hey, our input is invalid. And once we throw that exception, it gets caught by our catch statement, and then we run whatever within these brackets. And in this case, we're just outputting logic error, and then except what will be whatever we put in these parentheses. So let's try running our code again. And instead of putting a positive number, we'll put a negative number. And then we'll see that we have our error message right here and here, output. But if you notice, our program is still running. We can still insert values and have it terminate like normal. So what happened? So when we threw this exception, instead of having the program just end, we instead caught it and just ran this line of code, and we were able to continue like normal. So if you don't want the program to just end when you hit an error, you can just add a friendly error message like so, or alternatively, you could possibly ask the user for input again and see if they could get it the second time around. There's a bunch of things you could do with a try and catch, but those are the examples I will give for now. And yeah, that is how to use exceptions in a nutshell. I hope this video was helpful for you all, and if you have any questions, put them down in the comment section below. And if you have any more complex questions, you can always come to our office hours and we'll be happily able to answer those questions there. So that's it for today's video. Thank you everyone for watching, and this is Amanda signing off.